The next segments are going to deal with street fighting attack scenarios. Okay, I'm going to explain. You already know how to get to a point of reference. You already know your weapons. You already know your objectives. What will happen now is, according to the attack that's coming in, you're going to have to be able to apply your weapons, to apply your strategies, to get to your point of reference and to work your objective. The street attacks are learning tools to get to the point of reference. The point of reference is your ultimate objective. Thereafter, you have the options to do whatever needs to be done according to the scenario or according to what your objective is. We have chosen 18 hand-to-hand combat street attacks. Those are the most common attacks in the street. We are working from sucker punch to kicks to the groin to tackles to choke. All those scenarios are there to teach you to be able to coordinate your strategies into the point of reference. So while I'm actually using a scenario, this is only a learning tool to get to my point of reference. We're going to go from simple street attacks to more complex street attacks. Each one of them will bring a different dynamic into what I'm doing. Now, don't get stuck on the scenario. In other words, yes, at a certain segment I'll work on that scenario, but you got to remember, dynamics change in a fight. And the objective of the Haganah system, and especially the fight system hand-to-hand combat, is to reach their point of reference, not to read the scenario. Because a lot of times the scenario is coming in, you're probably not going to be able to completely read the entire scenario coming in, and you're going to have to adapt as you go into the scenario. With that in mind, let's get to work. All right, throughout this series, you're going to hear me talking about a clock strategy. The clock strategy follows that Carlos, in relationship to me, is at 12 o'clock, and I'm the center of the clock. So here will be 3 o'clock, here will be 9 o'clock, and right behind me will be 6 o'clock. So you're looking 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 6 o'clock. A lot of times you'll hear me say, I'm going to move into 2 o'clock. There will be for me to position myself according to the relationship between the both of us. So you got 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. You got 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Most of the time throughout the video series, I'm going to use the hours that are towards this half of the clock. A couple of them will go towards the back, but most of the time it'll be either 1 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Each one of those hours have a relationship to right and left. 1 o'clock is the same thing as 11 o'clock, just it's on the right or left side. 2 o'clock is the same thing as 10 o'clock, just right side, left side, and finally 3 and 9. Throughout this video series, I'm going to use both type of opponents. Sometimes I'll use Chris, which obviously is bigger than me and taller than me, and sometimes I'll use Carlos, which is in my same size bracket. It is important that you realize that your techniques, your strategies, your objective have to work regardless how big your opponent is. And in some cases, an opponent be bigger is actually work against him. The Haganah system do not rely on strength versus strength. It is the strategies, the point of references, the objectives that make it possible that I'm completely ignoring the matter of strength. Most of the time when somebody's going to attack you, they're going to be bigger than you anyway. And if you start relying on strength within your training and within your drills, you're going to always be limited in the sense of, I'm going to be able to make this work if I am bigger or stronger than him. And again, in many cases, somebody being taller, just for an example, if I bring Chris in and I turn him as an objective, right now, him being taller makes it that his arch, therefore, it's actually working against him. So, a lot of times you'll see me demonstrate with Chris, sometimes with Carlos. I want to illustrate that dynamic, that strength, size does not matter in the Haganah system. The first attack we're going to deal with is probably the most common attack in a street fight. It's the sucker punch. It's the guy just throwing a fist in your face. A lot of people that are so-called trained martial artists still get confused or get surprised by this attack because they don't understand the dynamic of the stress when it's coming in, that they're not going to give you a chance to be prepared for it, and the shot is just coming at their face and they got overwhelmed with the violence that's behind it. Carlos is getting in a fight, and he already chose that his attack is going to be a fist right in my face. Right now, his objective is to punch me in the face. Regardless if I got in a fighting stance or maybe I'm just in a neutral stance, that punch is coming at me. This will introduce you to what we call primarily danger. The primarily danger in this attack is the line of fire of that punch coming right in my face. Therefore, I'm going to have to deal with the primarily danger first before I go into defense and counters. The primarily offense is that line of fire. See, if you take a laser and imaginary line, there's a line that's coming right in my face. What I need to do is, I need to get out of that line of fire. Again, Carlos throws the punch, line of fire. If I'm in a neutral stance, I can do it from a neutral stance, or maybe if the fight was scheduled, I can do it from a fighting stance. It doesn't really matter. Okay, he comes in. I'm going to choose to get out of line of fire so I'm safe. My hand is going to check. In other words, I'm going to pick up my hand just to check. This is a check. Do not push. If you push, you redirect the attack. Just like it sounds, you're going to redirect something else. Me as an Haganah practitioner, when I saw that punch coming in, I should go, yes, I know exactly what he's going to do. He wants to punch me in the face. I want to bring him into his objective. In other words, I want him to be committed to his objective versus redirect his objective. As he comes in, boom, I'm going to take my shot to the rib. Okay, watch again. He came in, 1, 2. Okay, I check here, and I shoot a piston right into his lower rib. Footwork-wise, 11 o'clock, and I'm shooting my punch right here. Right now, what I basically did, in the first engagement of his objective, his mind right now was, I'm going to punch Mike right in the face. As he commits to it, he thinks pain right here. That is called short-circuiting your opponent. In other words, you took away his objective right away by short-circuiting him, by bringing him to another section in his body by inflicting pain. So he came in 1 here. This automatically brings us to a point of reference, right there. I grabbed him right away, I'm in a point of reference. From here, I go to work. The segment of going to work from here will be 3 knees. I'm going to knee, 1, 2, 3. Anywhere. From here, step, break his ankle. That was my objective at the moment. Again, Carlos came in, he threw that punch. Out, grab him. Point of reference. Make sure this hand is across his face so he cannot involve that hand. Right now, Carlos cannot punch me in the face. He cannot punch me in the body effectively. He can reach me, but no big deal. If you pay attention, Carlos is armed. If he tries to deploy that knife now with that hand, with the left hand, he can't do it effectively because I'll go already to work and I'll short-circuited by it. Again, so he comes in, out of line of fire, shoot, you counter attack. Offense, defense principle at the same engagement of the time that he threw his attack. Point of reference, violently. From here, 1, 2, 3 knees. You want to take him down? Go ahead, take him down. You want to break his ankle? Break his ankle. You want to schlock him out? Schlock him out. That will be up to your objective at the moment. All right, when Carlos throws his punch, I don't want to redirect it. if I redirect it just like it sounds, he's going to come in with the same weapon somewhere else. Okay, that's not good. Carlos had an objective to punch me in the face. I want him to be committed with that intent in the sense of his target is my face. In other words, the more he's committed to it, the more I'm going to dissolve the technique into my counterattack. In other words, I'm going to let him go to the route where he was going intently to begin with. That will create that I dissolve what he brings in into my counterattack. Also, in Nagana, we don't like to block. Blocking in Nagana is considered a last resort or a reaction that just happened to happen. In other words, it was not an objective for me to block. Why is that? If I go to block, it relies on timing. Because we are two people, it's very hard to time. When I meet him in the street, I don't know how fast he is, I don't know how slow he is. Therefore, for me to time that block is going to be almost impossible, and it's too much taking of a chance. Also, on a mathematical level, me to block, I only have 33% of success in that sense. Because if I am slower, he's going to get his shot in. If I am faster, I'm going to pass my block, and he's still going to get his shot in. Therefore, I only have 33% of success with blocking, versus if I get out of the line of fire, that is 100% out of blocking. So anytime you get out of the line of fire, that is considered 100% as far as the success ratio into the defense. The check is only there as a check. It is not a block. Attack number 2 will be a kick to the groin. Again, I'm going to have to deal with primarily danger. Carlos goes to throw a kick to the groin. The primarily danger here, again, is that line of fire. In other words, I'm going to have to find myself out of the line of fire of the kick to primarily deal with the attack. Thereafter, I can go into defensive counters, etc. So he comes in, I'm going to cut to 11 o'clock. Again, I'm cutting in to 11 o'clock. It is important here that you don't anchor this leg. In other words, only move this one, and then you're going to eat that kick into the thigh. It's important that you clear both legs. All right, from here, I'm going to have a check. The check is this way. Do not go this way. You're going to jam your wrist, and it's going to hurt. This way. Just like the check upstairs with the punch, it's the same check here. From here, I'm going to shoot right here. Now, I'm going to try to hit in the triangle that's under his ear. This is where you're going to stun him. In other words, he's going to see stars. When you stun him, you short-circuit him. A lot of people punch you in the face. You punch somebody in the face here. If you got a good shot, you'll break his jawbone on this side. What you just did is you shield his face by breaking his jaw because it's numb. I want to hit here so it completely stuns him. Again, he comes in, one, and shoot here. From here, point of reference. I pin this hand, I grab here, I pull in. 3 knees. 1, 2, 3. And from here, I can go into one of my objectives. Either take him down, either break the ankle, or either terminate him. Again. First thing, out of line of fire. Again, out of line of fire with a check. From here, it presents my target. Again, from here, it presents my target. He's actually walking into my punch. Again, one, boom. From here, point of reference. Make sure you got a lot of his shirt, pull it across. Don't be sloppy on your point of reference. That's what's keeping you alive. This hand is pinned, so he cannot deploy that knife. If you grab here, he yanks out. If you grab above, he deploys his weapon. If you have it pinned here, he can do nothing. From here, 3 knees. 1, 2, 3. And break the ankle or go into one of your objectives. Attack number 3 will be an attack with a front choke. Chris is going to choke me from the front. Okay, primarily danger here has to be identified again. The primarily danger is the thumbs in my neck. Without the thumbs, there is no choke. In other words, that's a primary danger. Therefore, I'm going to have to remove the thumbs before I start countering attack. I will do so by hooking by the wrist. Do not go by the forearms. If you try to go by the forearm, those thumbs are going to dig even more into your throat. I am going by the wrist. What I'm doing is I am plugging his wrist like so. I don't grab. If I grab his wrist, that brings a strength struggle. Most people are going to choke you from up front are going to be bigger than you. So your strength means nothing. What you're going to do is you're going to plug and go in a triangle out and down in a jerking motion. What this will do, automatically, it will unplug the choke. Now, it is important that you don't rip the choke. If you rip the choke, now he air slaps me, he goes into a headbutt, and he goes to work. All right? Do not freeze hands. Whenever somebody puts their hands on us in Agana, we say yes. He basically gave up his weapons by grabbing me. So I'm here. The first thing I'm going to do is right here. Right now, primary danger is taken care of. I can breathe. Now comes the counter attack. This will all be done simultaneously. Chris comes in to choke me, and I knee him in the groin. Again, watch here. What I'm doing here is I'm unplugging, leaning backward and kneeing. It is super important that you lean back. If you stay erect and you knee him, his head will headbutt you in the face. And that's going to cost you to be short-circuit. In other words, I lean back, the same thing I do my knees in the hand-to-hand combat segment. So I protect myself from getting headbutt in the face. Right there. From here, I'm going to step in and elbow in the face. In other words, I'm overlapping. Again, he came to choke, one to the groin, and overlapping. Go on the other side, please, Chris. Again, I came one and overlapping. This brings me to a point of reference. From here, 1, 2, 3 knees, and one of the 3 objectives. Either break his ankle, take him down, or terminate him. Again, he comes in with a choke. 1, 2, point of reference. 1, 2, 3, and one of the 3 objectives. Now on this one, I did a different takedown what we covered earlier. Chris choked me. I went into the counter, into here, into the point of reference. Anytime I have this point of reference, my takedown, instead of me working hard and go over there, all I got to do is shove this down. If I need to give him a shot to loosen him up, that's fine. And now I'm going to piston down his head, shoving him down and bring him down right to here. All right, so you have to find a way to adapt according to the situation, work as less hard as possible, and inflict as much damage as possible. This time, Chris is going to come and choke me, and he's going to shove me backward. Again, I'm going to have to find my primary danger, what exactly it is. In this case, my primary danger is no longer the choke. It is first me being off balance. Because if I unplug him, he will come down on top of me. Therefore, primary danger is me getting off balance. I will deal with it as he comes in by moving sideways. As I move sideways, what happens is I adjust my leverage. From here, I'm going to come above and unplug the choke. Watch again. Slow motion, please. He comes in, first sideways, shove, and from here, unplugging. As I unplug, I need to go as close as possible to his wrist. Don't do this. Don't go here and go against his hand because he's going to shove those thumbs in. I go as close as possible to the wrist so that thumb gets unplugged, which was my secondary danger. From here, I'm going to drop and hug myself. The hugging myself is a concept that I'm going to trap if possible, not trap as an objective. If I trapped him, bingo. If I trapped one hand, good too. If I didn't trap anything, that's fine as well. My objective is to inflict damage. So Chris comes in, position myself, unplug, hug. I got the two hands fine. Elbow, from here, point of reference. 1, 2, 3, and one of your objectives. If it's breaking the ankle, that'll be breaking the ankle. Again, he comes in. 1, trap if possible, elbow, point of reference. 1, 2, 3 knees. From here, you want to take down, you take it as you go. Okay, pay attention. I'm going to bring you to a couple issues that needs to be addressed. If Chris comes in and shoves me backward and I am right-handed, push, I'm going to go on this side. If I am left-handed, I am going to go on this side. So I end up attacking with my strong elbow. Because the technique is ambidextrous, anytime the technique involves two hands on the neck, it's considered ambidextrous. In other words, I can choose which side I'm going to go. You're always going to go where your weapons are. In other words, you got the choice. Also, on the first scenario, it was without a push, and I chose to do this. Now, on the first scenario, I can choose, without Chris pushing, I can choose to do this as well. The reason why I don't do so, anytime the Haganah practitioner has an option to tie up two hands to begin with, he will do so. If Chris doesn't push now, and I choose to do this one, while I do this, he can deploy a weapon. Take out your knife. And while I come to elbow him, he's got a knife out. Therefore, put your knife back. If I chose to do this one, he could not deploy that knife. Alright, so anytime you can tie up his two hands, you do so. Anytime the technique is ambidextrous, you choose which side you're going to take it so your strong hand takes over the encounter and the engagement. Attack number 5 is going to deal with a choke that's coming from a side angle. Chris is coming in and choke from the side. The choke, the primary danger on the choke is the front hand. If I remove that front hand, there is no more choke. In other words, that backhand is just giving a massage. What I'm going to have to do is unplug that hand. That will be done again by my hand cupping right by his wrist. Avoid going by the shoulder, by the forearm. It's not going to work. It's just going to dig into it deeper. Right by the wrist. What I'm going to do is, as I unplug, I'm going to lower my perimeter and I'm going to secure him to me. It is important that you secure him to you. As soon as somebody puts the hand on you, they establish that they're attacking you. It is the Haganah objective to always contain the attacker, demolish him, and spit him out. I don't want to repel him. In other words, I don't want to push him away because then he'll come with a scenario that I didn't know what's coming in. When he puts his hand on me right here, I'm going to go, yes, I know exactly what to do. Therefore, repelling him is not an objective you want to have. So as I drop down, I'm going to secure him. Of course, with my defense comes the offense. I'm going right to the groin. Again, I'm lowering my perimeter, so I'm getting to hit him in the groin. If I don't lower perimeter and I'm simply unplugging and hitting him, I'm going to hit him in the stomach. That's not going to make enough damage, or that's not going to short-circuit him. He's attacking high zone. All his mentality, I'm going to just choke. A lot of times people like really squeeze and start shaking you here anyway. What I'm doing is, right now, his mind is right downstairs here in the groin. From here, I'm coming up with an elbow, picking up his chin, right into my point of reference. I grab the shirt, yank back. Make sure that forearm is across so he cannot attack you with that other hand. From here, I'm starting to go to work. It's 1, 2, 3 knees and into one of my objectives. on the last segment, I switched into another objective and I adapted into a different point of reference. Chris had me after the choke, I ended up on the side point of reference. Sometimes the fight will dictate that you're going to have to change, and it's important that you don't become stubborn into, I'm going to do this no matter what. If the odds are changing and you feel that you don't have enough control, that probably sixth sense is telling you it's a mechanism of like something's wrong, you're going to have to be able to adapt. From here, I switched into a center control to turn him. As I turned him, I keep him close to me. Okay, don't turn a man and have him far. Okay, I want to keep him as close as possible to me. From here, all I did is I shoved the joint of the leg down. Okay, you don't have to be, it's no fancy, all it is shoving down. When I shoved him down, I push the upper body and shove him down. Alright, from here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to smash the ankle. In this particular one, this one will be the one I'm smashing. So I basically, right here, break the ankle. It is important, stand up please Chris, that again, you hear, sometimes it doesn't work, switched, turn him over, see I keep it nice and tight, shove him down, and right there I can start breaking his ankles. Attack number 6 is going to deal with the same angle of choke, but with a different variation in that he's going to shove me forward. Okay, this will happen most likely either it comes out of a multiple attacker situation, I'm dealing with subject A, and he comes from the side and just shoves me with the choke, or maybe he doesn't feel enough confidence to just squeeze me, and he's going to need that jill to push me forward to basically fire up whatever his attack is. So it's a variation of the same choke from before, but this time he's coming from the side and he's just ramming me forward, shoving me here. This time the primary danger will be that I'm being shoved to the side. If I try to unplug him while I'm being shoved here, this automatically naturally becomes a tackle and we go into the ground, which I'm trying to avoid at this point. Therefore, I'm going to have to change my attack. What basically the first thing I'm going to have to do is to base myself. It's the same thing as when we had the choke from the front and he was shoving backward. I move sideways, but this time I'm already sideways. Alright, so he comes in, Carlos comes in and push. First thing, I base myself. From here, I'm coming from the rear and unplugging. I'm going to hug myself to try to trap. Again, the trapping is a byproduct. If I trapped it, great. If I didn't trap it, fine. My objective is to create damage. From here, it'll be elbow, and I got a side control. Yank the shirt out, so you make sure you neutralize everything. From here, 1, 2, 3 knees, and into your objective, breaking the ankle or whatever objectives you got. Attack number 7 is going to deal with the choke from the rear. In other words, Carlos is going to come from the rear and go ahead and choke me. Now I got to address the issue here of this is a complete surprise. And most of the time you're going to deal with a whiplash and you're going to have to be prepared to be able to deal with that type of stress while you're being attacked. As soon as you feel the choke on you, you got to be in an awareness that, okay, something's happening. Nobody's going to grab you by the neck and nothing is going to happen. Carlos is going ahead and shoving me forward. Again, the primary danger is me losing my balance. Only then the choke becomes relative. So first thing, I'm going to have to base myself. As he pushes, I'm going to base myself. Now, in reality, that might take you push a couple steps for you to get there. That's fine because it's going to be a complete surprise. When you base yourself, I want your strong leg up front. In other words, push, Carlos. right here. I don't want your weak side up front. If your weak side is up front, you're going to have to turn into your weak side, and because of coordination purposes, it's going to be a liability, no good. All right, so as he pushes forward, I base myself. It is important that your body posture stays straight. Don't fall down, then you're going to tumble and fall down. You want to get straight. From here, and now I can deal with the choke. On the choke, I am going to raise my hand straight. Raise my hand straight. And all I'm going to do now is change position with my feet, hinging my upper body and unplugging the choke. Watch again. He pushes. I raise myself, pick up my hand. Try to stick your shoulder to your ear. From here, switching your feet, hinging the upper body. From here, I'm going to grab here, hit him, and here comes my point of reference. 1, 2, 3, and into the objective you'll have. Again, base, up, hinge my upper body, completely ignore his hands position, strike him, point of reference, 1, 2, 3, and whatever objective you're going into. Attack number 8 is going to work the same angle. He's coming choking from the rear, but the variation is that instead of shoving me forward, he's going to pull me backwards. So again, Carlos comes from the rear, and this time he's pulling me backward. Again, I got to identify the primary danger. Primary danger is me getting off balance this way. This is very dangerous in the sense that he can shove a knee into me, he can bring me into a secondary location and basically abduct me. So that is the primary danger. Only then I'm going to deal with the choke. I'm going to do so as he pulls me. I'm going to pull to 7 o'clock. Now watch what I mean by 7 o'clock. I'm going 7 o'clock right there. While Carlos pulls and I go to 7 o'clock, for him to be able to pull me off balance again, he's got to readjust and pull again. That is a transaction. That's where I call it a half beat. In other words, because I cannot turn because he's got his hands on me, I'm going to go there, so I attack his leverage. Again, he pulls, I go to 7 o'clock and I try to base myself. He's got to pull me off balance again. He's going to have to readjust it and pull again. At the same time, I'm going to plug. Now watch what I mean by that. As he pulls, I plug the hand. It's like catching a mosquito on your shoulder. All you do is plug the hand. Okay? Again, he comes in and I plug the hand. One more. He comes in and I plug the hand. This will give me that I can hit him in the groin and I don't lose him. If I simply pull, hit him in the groin and I lose him, he can deploy a weapon now. And also, I'm in a very compromising position that I don't know what's coming in. I don't want to, no matter what, rip or open it. If you rip or open it or unplug him, it's a tactical mistake because you cannot see what's coming next. So again, he comes in, I secure him by plugging, hitting the groin. From here, shove the elbow up, turn into my point of reference. Control the head, control here, push down a little bit to take away his knee weapons. 1, 2, 3, and into whatever objective you have from there. Attack number 9 is going to deal with the bear hug. Okay, Chris comes in and bear hugs me from the rear. Okay, my hands are pinned. I'm going to have to operate from this compromised position. The first thing I'm going to do, I can soften him up by hitting him maybe in the foot, but my major thing is to hit him in the groin. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate and smack him in the groin. Again, I am ringing the bell. Usually when you ring the bell downstairs, they pay attention upstairs, okay? In other words, don't try to hit. If you try to hit, you might not get a good shot, and then he's going to rotate and turn. If you slap the groin, you can actually go 1, 2, 3, and actually slap a few times, and you'll get in sooner or later. From here, they'll soften him up. I'm going to shoot a nice, sharp elbow, okay? My elbow rotates, and I shoot it right here to loosen him up. Again, I came in, maybe shot one here, and right here. That will loosen him up. From here, what I'm doing, I'm going to bump. I'm going to bump up and pick up the chin from underneath. So again, I went 1, 2, 3, 4. From here, I turn into an elbow, and I got my point of reference. It will be 1, 2, 3 knees, and then whatever objective I have. One more time. Came in. I'm all tied. 1, 2, 3. Picking them up. Bang. 1, 2, 3. And into an objective. This technique involved you operating very tight. In other words, when Chris had me here, everything is tight. A lot of people decompose when it's tight, and they say, I'm claustrophobic. No, you're not claustrophobic, you decompose under the stress. You have to be able to react when you don't have a lot of room. Okay, every weapon here is very tight. In Israel, let's go for a second, Chris. In Israel, we call this Krav Panim El Panim. Krav Panim El Panim translates to English face-to-face combat, what you guys refer to hand-to-hand combat. In Israel, we call it Krav Panim El Panim because can you fight when you this close? Can you intimidate the enemy when you this close without you being intimidated? That will be done that you know you can be effective when it's tight, and you don't have to have big motions. So it's important that you learn to operate when things are tight, and that your weapons are nice and sharp with a jilt motion versus a traveling motion. Okay, let's talk about a few more principles. The principle of confining yourself to the engagement. Okay, I'm going to explain. When somebody attacks you, and in relation to him and you, that space is made available. In other words, we know we got that space available. You need to learn to be effective in the tightness of the engagement. In other words, if you start relying on more room, maybe the environment is not going to give you more room. In other words, maybe you're in the tight environment, you're in a small room, maybe there's a car, and basically you don't have availability. Whatever route he took to attack you is obviously available. Whatever route you're occupying is obviously available. You're going to need to learn to be effective within that. In other words, it's very important that you learn to jilt your body when you hit in tight motion. It's important that you learn to use your elbows and your knees, because anytime you use elbows and knees, you're basically occupying the environment you have. If you start wailing and starting throwing punches, you're going to need more room, and the room will not always be available, so that's very important. Also, when people close the gap, and in other words, it's face-to-face combat, as we like to say it in Israel. When he's in your face, the adrenaline is going to pump. And when the adrenaline pumps, you're probably going to start breathing more heavy. It is very important that you regulate your breathing to be regular. If you start hyperventilating, you're going to lose it. Emotionally, you're going to decompose, and it's going to seize you. It's important that you stay relaxed. Also, don't hold your breath. If you hold your breath, especially when you start throwing techniques, it's going to retract your muscle, and then you're not going to be able to deliver techniques. Every time you deliver a technique, you're projecting. Anytime you're holding your breath, you're retracting. It's important that you breathe within your techniques, you stay calm, and you work everything tight. Make sure that you only occupy the environment of the engagement, not relying on more space. It is important that you be able to inflict damage when you're up close. Don't always rely on the room. A lot of times you're going to end up close. If it's standing up, if it's on the ground, maybe you're in a car and you're right next to each other, you need to be able to apply your techniques when you're up close. Everything has to be a jilt. You don't have to rely only on the traveling, okay? You can also grab and pinch. Anytime you grab the skin and you pinch, it's going to short circuit him. I like to go for the maul. Anytime I go on the maul, it's going to work. Okay, so all these techniques is up close. Sometimes when I'm up close, I bump. Anything that works to jilt him. You're trying to short circuit him. Not every shot is the knockout shot. Okay, anytime as you close in, use those techniques. Bump him off. Anytime you can grab a hold of him, you can grab here and pinch. Right away, if Justin tries to punch me now, try punch, it completely neutralizes him. So in other words, use the inside techniques and don't rely on the room. You will always have something you can work on. Just like you can deliver an elbow, he can deliver an elbow. If I'm in a point that Carlos is up close and he throws that elbow, I'm going to have to deal with it to completely neutralize it. In other words, he threw his elbow. If I go here, most likely something is going to come from here, or maybe he's going to start working with his knees because that's the type of close quarter combat we involved. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to borrow the elbow attack to completely neutralize him. In other words, he came in with the elbow, I come here, I'm going to pass the elbow, trap him, and completely neutralize him to come on the dead side. In other words, I am creating an opening that I can go back into my point of reference. Now, this is something you're going to have to develop to be able to fight up close without losing your confidence that things are flying and you're not going to start jilting on a defensive mode. In other words, I'm here and then you go right into this. You're going to have to develop those skills. Those skills are developed up close with drills. In other words, I can set this up as a drill. I can set this up as a drill. And in the beginning, me and Carlos go slow. And as you get better, you start spinning it up. As you get better again, you start moving around with it. You start moving around with it. And then you start breaking the tempos. And again, it always brings you back into a point of reference. Attack number 10 is going to deal with a variation of the bear hug coming from the rear, but this time my hands are going to be free. A lot of times this is considered third-party self-defense. In other words, maybe I'm already busy fighting somebody and he comes from the rear, tries to yank me up and pick me up backward. In other words, he's coming when my hands are free and this and that. Okay, there's two issues you have to address here. If he tries to pick you up, you're going to have to wrap right here. Now try to pick up, Chris. Now he can't pick up. Okay, so if you feel a jilt trying to pick you up, right away, wrap. Now he's going to have to pick himself up and me up, and it's impossible because of the leverage position. After a while, he's going to give up and basically let you go, then you can reposition your foot down. What I'm going to do here, I am going to knock on the door. I am coming right here. Knock, knock. Okay, watch again. I am hitting him with the corners right here. I don't want you to hit, however, so much that he lets go. If he completely lets go, you're going to have to turn to be effective, and you don't know what you're turning into, and he can start striking you because now his hands are free. So you're only hitting here to loosen him up, okay? Again, so it's 1, 2, loosen him up. From here, I'm going to go here and what we call peel, okay? I'm coming in 1, and I'm peeling until I can grab the fingers. Now, it's important here that you give your opponent instant arthritis by squeezing. Okay, again, I'm squeezing. Enjoy the squeeze, Chris. From here, I am going to turn this way while I'm maintaining my hand on the wrist and completely ignore. All I do is this. Right here. Okay, again. He bear hugged me. 1, 2, loosen him up. Coming in, squeeze. Instant arthritis. Turn this way. Now watch, I'll go slow this time. I'm turning until I can face him. When I face him, I'm going to squeeze it towards the center line. If I squeeze center line, his joint alignment is ineffective. In other words, right now he's mine. From here, it's knee 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. From here, the ankle break is right here. Again, 1 more time. Since you're enjoying it that much, Chris?
Yes, sir.
1, 2. Opening up, peel. Instant arthritis. Turn, drop him. 1, 2, 3, find the ankle and break it. Okay, the side that you're going to choose to turn will be determined by your opponent, not by you. In other words, if he's overlapping with his hand this way, and you knock a couple of times to loosen him up, and when you peel, and that's the reason why we peel, you're going to end up with these fingers. Now, the reason why I peel versus just when he's loosened up, just grab, a lot of times we're dealing with low light situation. In other words, I'm in the dark, and I want to be able to just peel, and it will serve itself into it without me looking at it. All right, so if he's got this hand, automatically I'm squeezing here and going this way. In case he overlapped this way, which you cannot determine just because he's going to have his choice, it's 1, 2 here, and then you're going to end up giving him arthritis here and turning up this side, okay? In case he overlaps the fingers, cross fingers like this, then basically you have a choice to either way going in, it doesn't matter. Fingers are very fragile. You want to take advantage of that. Attack 11 is going to deal with the lapel grab. Carlos comes and grabs me. Now, as soon as he grabs me, he makes his intention clear that he's going to attack me. I don't have to wait for him to throw a punch or to throw whatever he's got intended to throw at me. In other words, he grabbed me, I go to work. All right? The first thing I'm going to do is what we call in Hebrew a shifshuf. Shifshuf means rubbing in Hebrew. I'm going to rub off a kick to his groin. It doesn't matter if I connect with the shin, the knee, it doesn't really matter. All I do is right that kick to the groin. That will short circuit his intention. In other words, if he wanted to punch me, when I kick him in the groin, he's going to think groin, obviously. All right? As soon as I got him on the groin shot, I'm going to overlap with an elbow right in his face. So I'm coming in. 1, 2. This will serve that I can start attacking his hand that's grabbing me. Again, 1, 2. From here, I'm going to grab his hand. If you pay attention on the hand grab, I'm coming underneath the meat of the hand. Sometimes he'll have it so tight that you can go in, just hit it with your knuckles, and he'll loosen up, and then you can go in. All right, so again, I came in, shif, kick to the groin, elbow, grab the hand. Now watch, it's very important that as soon as you get seized him, you don't let go. I won. Right now he's mine. I'm not going to let this go. From here, I'm going to step back to avoid that hand starting coming into play. Step back, and I contain him on my body. I do that for 2 reasons. Number 1, so I have more control. I have 1 point of control here, and the second point of control being my actual body. If I yank the hand out, all he's got to do is yank out, and I lost him. And then I lost my objective of containing my opponent. In other words, I'm going to keep it right on top of me. Avoid turning. Don't do turns. You two turn, he does one of those rollers, he's gone, and again, I lost him. I am going to hit him right here in a piston motion straight down, so his knees buckle. If his knees buckles, his leverage is gone, and now I can start going to work. From here, it'll be 1, 2, 3 knees. Step on his foot, and break his ankle as an objective or any other objective. Again, Carlos grabs, shif, elbow, step back, piston him down, present the face, 1, 2, 3, step into objective. Again. Attack number 12 will deal with a variation of the same lapel grab. This time Carlos grabs and he launches his attack, and I did not get a chance to kick. Not only that, if he launches his attack and now I start a kick, I'm off balance, he's going to get the best out of the engagement. In other words, if that hand is already in flight and he's going to attack you, you're going to have to deal with that hand either you like it or not. So he grabbed, and I'm going to block. I'm going to use a 90-degree block. If you are forced to block, as an Haganah practitioner, it's always going to be 90-degree block. If you do any bigger than 90 degrees, you're going to redirect everything to your organs. In other words, if Carlos would have grabbed me, and right now he had a knife, I would have directed him to his organ if I had a bigger angle than 90 degrees, which is just slip into it. If I keep a 90 degree, it stops him from coming in. All right, so anytime you do block, it is a 90 degree. From here, right now, Carlos' objective was to seize me and punch me. When I blocked, Carlos' mind is right here, right here. He's thinking, man, it didn't work. I want to change his mind to the neck. Okay? Again, he comes in, 1, 2. When I hit him here, now Carlos thinks pain section 2. In other words, I short-circuited what he came in with. Again, 1, 2. From here, go on the other side, please. 1, 2. From here, I'm going to seize the hand here. Do not grab with the thumb, you're plugging. And I'm going to step right behind. Again, step right behind. From here, my hand becomes a shoulder roll. In other words, I'm going to hit him in the neck and spiral down here. From here, you have objectives to whatever you want to do. Again. Came in, 1, 2, step in, spiral down. Again, this angle, please. Grab, punch, 1, 2, step in, and spiral down. All right, right now you got introduced into another takedown. In other words, when Carlos grabbed me, I blocked and I punched. This is what we call a spiral takedown. I don't rip. In other words, I don't struggle with him. This will be who's stronger. And most of the time, whoever attacks you is stronger. You usually don't see a Chihuahua attack a Rottweiler. Basically, most of the time your attacker will be bigger than you. If not, he will be using some kind of weapon. The takedown is established by me hitting him, by rolling my shoulder. This is what short-circuits him so he doesn't think resistance downstairs. And thereafter, I spiral him down. When I spiral him down, I want to spiral well under where he is. From here, I can work objective. Obviously, if you're law enforcement, you're going to go into either handcuff or restraining him. Usually I teach my students to pull back and start playing soccer with your opponent. Anytime you pull him back, you stretch him out. And he cannot go into a grappling situation that he's going to shoot for your legs or so. Or, of course, you have 1, 2, and termination. Attack number 13 is going to deal with a headlock. Okay, in the Haganah system, anytime the hands are on the neck, that's called a choke. Anytime his arm is going to go around, that's a headlock. Okay, the first headlock is going to be a side headlock. I'm going to have to address here primarily danger. The primarily danger here right now is this hand going into hitting me. It will take him about 8 seconds to him choking me out here. Therefore, I got time for that. But if he starts to hit me in the face, that's going to short-circuit me, and therefore, I'll never have a chance to protect against the headlock. Therefore, I'm going to have to neutralize that first. I will do so by blocking and catching. Now, sometimes the guy is too big, and you'll have to catch from the inside. That's fine. Either on the outside, or if it's too big, you shove the hand here. Now, I can address the headlock. From here, to short-circuit him, I'm going to hit him in the groin. Now remember, his whole thought is right here. I hit him in the groin, right now his thought came here. From here, I'm going to change the security on this hand, go upstairs around. And I'm coming right under the nose with the middle finger. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to create a question mark with my hand. While I do so, I'm going to clear my foot so he doesn't fall on my foot. So again, he comes in, first thing, secure that hand. Grab it, hit in the groin, switch the secure, come over here. From here, question mark, drop him, and from here you can go to work into whatever objective you have. It's important when you go to the nose that only the middle finger works. Okay, you want to use the middle finger and kind of like push it through. Don't put the whole hand because he can bite you, and if he bites you, it's going to short-circuit you. Number one. Number two, you only want the finger right here, because what you're doing is there is a nerve there. Okay, it's the same thing when I push here. If right now I put all my hand here and Carlos pushes forward, he can resist. There's a resistance. But if I put one finger push forward, he cannot resist because there's a nerve there. So it is important that you put one finger and do not present this finger for a bite. Again. Attack number 14 is a variation of the same headlock, but he's going to go much lower. In other words, Carlos came here and he went real low. And for me to pick him up is going to be either too much stress on my muscles at the moment, or it's going to be impossible because he's too big. Okay, the primary danger again is that hand. You're going to have to secure that hand, either it's high or low, it doesn't matter. So first thing I secure and I hug, or I come from the inside. From here, I hit him in the groin. Because it's too much work for me to go upstairs, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the wedge of my hand right here. I'm going to take the wedge of my hand and shove his kneecap right in the center. So you got 1 foot, 2 foot, and I'm going to create a perfect triangle and shove it forward. Alright, from here that will present his ankle and he's going to let go. I can break it with my knee, or I can just shove it here and break it there. Again. He came in, he took it real low. Right away secured this hand. Hit him in the groin to soften him up. Down. Don't shove it there. In the center. Right there. From here. Break the ankle, and out you go. Again. Attack number 15 is going to deal with a headlock from the rear. Okay, Chris comes from the rear and puts me in a headlock. Okay, right away I'm going to have to react. Number one, because I don't want him to curve back, and number two, it came from the rear. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plug the hands, because the primary danger is basically him choking me. I'm going to plug. Now I'm going to have to lower my base so I stay in balance. If I don't lower my base, I'm not going to be in balance and he's going to be in charge. Now watch here. Again, as soon as I feel him, anybody putting a hand across your neck from the rear means business. You're going to have to react right away and plug it right here and lower your base. From here, watch what I'm doing. This is a big misconception in other systems, that people have to throw. I don't have to throw him. I'm going to have to basically outbalance him. What I'm doing now is I'm going to lean forward. When I lean forward, if you pay attention to Chris' feet, he gets on his tip of his toes. In other words, all his weight gets tilted up front. Therefore, when I throw him, I don't end up yanking. A lot of people try to yank, and when you under an adrenaline rush in the street, you might pull you back. Yes, you threw him, you pull you back. Guess what? He gets back up and he beats the shit out of you, which is not good for you. So in other words, I come in here. From here, I'm coming down and I'm tilting. As soon as I feel him light, I'm going to try to put my forehead on this knee by turning and taking him over. Okay, I never picked up his weight. I basically tilted his weight off me. Again, he comes in, first thing drop. Get your base so you can be in balance. Tilt him forward first. Don't rush. In other words, if you panic and you rush, you're not going to have it and you're going to go into a strength struggle. I don't want to struggle with him. Chris is much bigger than me. I want to use his weight against him. Now all his weight is up front and all I do is turn and down he goes. From here, of course, I got objectives. It's important after you took down your opponent to actually contain him. Don't throw him or don't toss him away. In other words, he connected with you, he engaged. That should be good for you because automatically as you have an engagement, you can contain him. In other words, when Chris puts his hand around me and I drop my base and I throw him, I'm going to keep holding this hand. In other words, I tilt him so it's not heavy, coming down. From here, I can drop this knee.
I can drop this knee for 8 seconds, he'll fall asleep sooner or later. I can go into arm bars, I can go into breaking, I can start hitting, I can terminate him. It is important that you don't get in the mode of throwing somebody, because what will happen is he came attack you from the rear. And he gave you a gift by giving his hand. You said, I don't want your gift. You insult him. Don't insult your opponent, demolish him. Again.
Attack number 16 is going to be a variation of the headlock coming from the rear. This time Chris is going to grab me and he's going to yank back. In other words, Chris comes from the rear, yanks me back. That will prevent me from dropping base and overthrow him. In other words, now I'm going to have to deal with the primary danger of being off balance. Of course, first thing I'm going to have to do is unplug here so I can breathe. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to wrap my leg right behind his front leg. Okay, whatever I got here, I'm going to wrap. I'm going to completely ignore him and go with him to this side. Now, when I do so, I stay tight to him so I get him off balance. From here, I'm going to give him one shot with the elbow and I'm going to yank him straight down. And from here, of course, I got my objectives. Now, it is important that as soon as Chris grabs me, that I plug here so I can momentarily breathe. As soon as I try to drop base and I see that he's yanking back, don't get stubborn. Don't go, I'm going to throw him no matter what. You're going to pull you back in the middle of the fight. That's not good for you. You take that one step and you go wherever the side of the elbow is in. In other words, I'm going there. Inside. From here. Give him an elbow shot to soften him up. And right now you're going to throw him this direction straight down. From here again, I can drop this knee. I can drop this knee. I can terminate him. Whatever your objective is at the moment. Again. Attack number 17 brings us to the transaction of what I call the grappler wants to go to the ground. In other words, I am dealing with a tackle. This brings us to the issue of ground fighting. As an Haganah practitioner, I try to avoid to go to the ground. However, we have did extensive research on ground fighting systems that are out there, so we understand what the objective is, therefore I can fight it back. Ground fighting scenarios and survival training techniques will be covered in another tape. The techniques that I'm covering on 17 and 18 is against the tackle. In other words, what do I do when he comes in and tries to take me to the ground? I want to avoid going to the ground again. There's a lot of liabilities involved. Number one, I can only deal one-on-one. I cannot deal with multiple attackers as soon as I hit the ground. It's very bad in a street fight. Number two, the asphalt and the pavement in the street is not as forgiving as a mat in a training environment. You're out there on the pavement, it's hot, maybe it's cold, there's rocks, it's going to be painful to you just as much as to him if you go into grappling. And number three, weapon deployment. He pulls out a knife on the ground and it's going to get very ugly very fast. So in other words, I'm going to try to avoid that by redirecting my techniques and my defense against a tackle. Carlos comes in and goes for a tackle, okay? Systematically, when somebody goes for a tackle, they're going to attack you leverage and you balance and take you to the ground. I call this the outside technique. In other words, I saw it coming. Because I saw it coming, the last thing I want to do is back up. If I back up, number one, I tell him defensively wise, I'm scared. Number two, I give him more momentum, and as he comes in, the tackle is going to get much stronger. I am going to go in and jam him. As soon as I see him coming in, I'm going to go in and jam him. If you are right-handed, automatically I want you to step in with your right side, which is your strong side. If you are left-handed, automatically you'll step in with your left. It doesn't matter which way you're going, it's a middle technique, therefore it's ambidextric, and you got the choice. If you got the choice, always step in with your strong side. As he comes in, I'm going to shoot my elbow. Now this is going to create one of three things. Either I'll connect with the head and it's going to cut and glide him into a shoulder, or either I'll get this shoulder or this shoulder. It does not matter where you end up. If you end up on this side, bingo. You end up in the middle, gave him a headache and a migraine in the process, bingo. You end up on the other side, that's fine as well. Do not shoot for one side. You're going to be stressed out that he's tackling anyway. I don't want to put more stress on you. As he comes in again, I shoot right here. This will stun him and stop him. From here, I am going to shove this down. All I'm doing is shove this down, and I'm going to shoot down under the armpit. In other words, go on this side, please, Carlos. He comes in, I stun him. I shoot this right here. Right here. From here, I am going to pick this up, shove this down. I want this hand like a piston. I want this hand just yanking up. As I do so, I'm going to pivot this leg. So when he falls down and gets redirected to the ground without me, he doesn't fall on my leg and breaks my leg. So again, I'm here, and all I'm doing is right there. This will create that he's going to have to stand back up and come back fight standing up. If he tries to take you to the ground, obviously he likes going to the ground. Therefore, I am pushing him or forcing him coming back where he doesn't like it. Tactically, this is going to be a confidence breaker for him, not for me. So again, he comes in, I stun, go in, shove down, coming in, redirect it, and I force him to come back. Do not, at this point, jump on top of him. Because if his objective was to go to the ground, obviously he likes it there. So if you jump on him to do whatever, he's going to take you in his territory. Very bad for you. Attack number 18 is going to be the actual tackle. In other words, I never got a chance to see it, or maybe the scenario overwhelmed me so bad that I froze for a second and he's already inside. Now I want to make this clear. If you have no choice and you have to go to the ground, it is important that you go to the ground with a dominant position. Again, I'm going to cover ground survival in another tape and will explain to you what I mean by dominant position. If right now Carlos got in other words, he tackled this and he's on the inside, and I never got a chance to jam him, that's considered inside. If I go for the elbow here, that's going to do absolutely nothing because he's going to take me off the ground and take the leverage out of my elbow. Therefore, I am forced to go to the ground. If I'm forced to the ground, what I'm going to do is I am going to go with him, but I'm going to make sure that I end up on top. That will be done by me simply sitting back and hooking the leg. Back up for a second, Carlos. I am going to basically sit down and hook with the leg. As he comes in, I sit down, hook with the leg, and I end up on top. Okay? Again. Go on this side. He came in. I never got a chance to do anything. I'm already feeling all this body motion coming into me. I said to myself, fine, we're going down. All you got to do is hold on to him, sit back, hook the leg, and on top you go. All right? It is important. Go on this side, please. It is important that when he ended up in, that leg hooks. If you don't have a hook here, it's not going to work. The hook makes it possible for you to dump him sideways. You don't want all his weight on you. In other words, as I go down, that hook moves all his weight this way. As I sit down, he never got to be on top of me. As soon as I'm on top of him here, it's one shot, two shot. Either you'll get it for free. Maybe you got just two shots for free. That's fine. If he covers up 1, 2, you'll have to strip and go for an elbow. If he did not cover up 1, 2, still go for the elbow. Grab the head 1, 2, 3 on the concrete, and that'll be the end of that.
when you reach your body of your opponent on the side, before you go to work in any of your objective, you're going to have to neutralize the position. If you don't neutralize the position, he can roll out and go into a dominant position on his side. Therefore, the first thing you got to do is neutralize him. Only then you can go to work. A lot of people try to go to work too soon, and then he transits into another position and you lose what your objective was to begin with. When you get to the side, the first thing you're going to have to do is prevent him to come with the legs this way or to roll. In other words, I am going to put my knee right by his hip right here. If you need to first put your hand and then put your knee, that's fine. But I want that knee right here, so I prevent him from coming with the legs and working with the legs. As soon as I got this, I am going to put my chest on his chest like a blanket. I want to completely smother everything he's got. Just like that, middle on middle. And I'm going to lay myself on him. As I do so, my other hand is going to go by the neck. Now it is important that you have this very tight, because I am trying to prevent the bite. If it's loose, Carlos turns and he takes a chunk out of my tricep. That's going to not be good for me. In other words, he's taking over that position right away. In other words, I'm going to make it nice and tight, and Carlos is going to try to bite. As soon as I got that bite neutralized, I can start going to work. In other words, first thing, that he cannot go this way with my knee being here. Second thing, my leverage, smothering his leverage. Third thing, putting the elbow right here so he can bite me. Right now, the only thing I got to worry about is this hand or this hand. Now, this hand can hit me, but it's not going to be a big deal. The only thing that endangers me here is him coming for my eyeball and poking me in the eye. So that I'm going to have to neutralize by putting my forehead right on his chest. And I'm going to have to play with it because he's got two hands. And this hand is going to hug. Okay, in other words, I'm going to basically just hug him and neutralize. Now, right now, what's going to happen is he's going to try to come out of it just like a fish out of the water. If you pay attention, I keep everything tight and I make sure that he cannot eye gouge me. Try to eye gouge me, Carlos. Right there. Now, I can start going to work. As soon as I neutralized him with the eye gouges, the bite, him moving around, I can start going to work. The first thing I'm going to have to do is start softening him up. I hit him here, I hit him here. This is the hand you want to use. If you lose this hand, he's going to bite you, it's over. Make sure this hand stays there and start going to work with this hand. Alright, you start hitting anywhere you want, you can hit. From here, after you hit a few times, he's going to try to do something with that hand. As soon as that hand comes in play, you're going to slam it. You slam it on the concrete. Use the concrete. If you have to do it a couple times, do it a couple times. From here, I'm going to grab the hand this way, plugging it. Don't go with the thumb. You go with the thumb. In training on the mat, it's okay. In the concrete, you just ripped your whole thumb by him trying to fight it. Thumb stays on top so you don't rip it. From here, I don't want to go on the concrete here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cup and I'm going to come in. Again, I cup and I come in. From here, I'm going to tighten up everything. Now, I do everything in a jilt. I tighten up everything. That short circuits him into, I'm the boss. This is my position and you're going where I want you to go. So I jilt it in, keep it tight. From here, I pick up this way, just like I'd be picking up something from the floor. But I don't let my fingers get ripped on the concrete. I pick it up and I rip. Now, if you paid attention, Carlos tapped out. A lot of people are trained, when they tap out, they let go and it's over. This is not a sport. I am trying to demolish my opponent. In other words, after he taps out, I yank the whole thing and rip it out. From here, hit, hit, hit. And when I'm going to transit out, I'm going to put my hand on his chest, pump myself out, and out I go.